Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we are going to talk about red triangles and white roses. Their meaning people where they're at. If you don't know, the campaign of the President of the United States ran 88 Facebook ads, specific number, featuring a very specific red triangle that was used to identify his opposition, those opposed to the Trump administration. The first sentence of these posts, if you count up the words, you're going to get a specific number. And that's also a pretty specific number with some meaning to a certain group of people. History buffs, we know this. We look at this and we're outraged. We're outraged. We can't believe that this is happening. Because that red triangle, well, it was reserved for certain kinds of people in history. In Germany. Those who spoke out against that administration. Those who rescued Jews. That's who got the honor of wearing one of those. And that's how Trump wants to identify his enemies, his opposition. Yeah, you can be outraged, but it's not going to do any good. Anybody who has not recognized what the president is by this point in the game, they're not going to. Pointing out that he's a racist is not going to matter. They know he's a racist. That's not news. Pointing out that he is very overtly trying to draw lineage from one of the most notorious figures of the 20th century isn't going to matter. You know, when people speak positively about this channel and the way I structure arguments, they say that, you know, I try to meet people where they're at rather than where I want them to be, and I structure the argument so hopefully it will resonate on one of several levels, address the practical, the moral, you know, and go through it. I always feel guilty because I ripped all of that off. I stole it straight up, just highway robbery, all right? Took it from one of my heroes, a woman named Sophie Scholl and her crew, the White Rose Society, who incidentally would have been a group who had the honor of wearing one of those triangles. See, what we have to remember about that German regime, that short little German dude with the mustache, is that even at the end of the war, he still had supporters. Still had people who wanted to, quote, be good Germans. That's what Trump wants. He wants that undying loyalty. We see it all the time. But see, there's a big difference between that German guy and Trump. And as much as Trump wants to draw his lineage from him, you know, there's a big difference that can be exploited. See, that German dude, he was effective at delivering on his promises. Trump's not. Trump's a failure. Wanted to make America great again. The country's on fire. Well, it's going to all go away. It'll be like a miracle. We're entering the second wave. The economy's going to be fantastic. Guess not, and we need to remember to point out that the recession started before the lockdowns. The man can't even build a fence. My 14-year-old can build a fence. Can't even handle a simple construction project. He's a loser. He's always been a loser, and he's always going to be a loser. See, his remaining supporters, they're never going to catch the subtle dog whistles in the sense of being able to recognize them for what they are. They're never going to see him as that parallel. They're never going to recognize what he wants to be. They're not going to ever take the time to research and realize that he has checked off all 14 of the characteristics. They're never going to see that because they don't want to, and because he specifically chose those supporters. I love uneducated voters. Of course he does. They're the only ones that won't see through it. They care about winning. They don't care that he's a racist. They know he's a racist. That appeals to them. They don't care about what good he does for them. They care about how much he hurts those he doesn't like. We have to point out that he's a loser over and over and over again, because those that haven't woken up to what he wants to be yet, they're not going to. We have to meet them where they're at. We need to be like Sophie and meet them where they're at. Yeah, you can be outraged. I am. It's upsetting. But that's not the story. The story is that he tried to do a dog whistle and got caught. Facebook removed the ads. Once again, he's a loser. He can't even racist right. That needs to be the point that gets hammered home. Because those who don't recognize him for what he is now, they're not going to. Even at the end of the war, the German guy had supporters. We've got to remember that. We have to meet them where they're at. Address them in terms they will understand. Fine, we can't meet him on the moral level. Let's hit it on the practical level. He's a failure, and he'll always be a failure. He doesn't have support of the military. He's not good at defending the Second Amendment. All of the things that they say they care about, he's an utter failure at. He's a loser, and he'll always be a loser. Anyway, be like Sophie. It's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.